KTTZ TV Channel 5 presents 24 Frames, taking you inside music, art, and entertainment in the Hub City and beyond. On this edition of 24 Frames, we break into our vault to bring you a story from our past that you've never seen. I sit down with filmmaker Geoff Marslett in Austin. You'll also get the second half of my conversation with film critic Tim as we break down the summer movie schedule and Veda Moon in our South Plains sessions. Welcome to 24 Frames. I'm your host, Paul Hunton. Last week, film critic Tim and I broke down part of the summer movie schedule to tell you what you should see and what you should skip at all costs. As a couple of long-winded movie nerds, we didn't cover half of the summer blockbusters. So tonight, we bring you part two. Lone Ranger. I feel like if I was a gambling man and they said, which film would you bet doesn't do well at the box office? And it might, and I might rephrase that. Which blockbuster won't bust blocks? Lone Ranger would be it for me. I just don't think this film has what it's going to take. They're hinging a lot on the Johnny Depp contingent, which is a large contingent, and that Pirates of the Caribbean audience that might follow this film. But Armie Hammer just doesn't do much for me. No. I thought he was great in Social Network, but that's about where he begins and ends with greatness with me. I just don't. The trailers haven't been all that good. Mm-hmm. I just feel like if any of these big movies aren't going to do well, The Lone Ranger is the one that's not going to do well.
We're talking about The Lone Ranger. We're not talking about Tonto and Guy with Mask, but that's really how it's being marketed here. This is, for Armie Hammer being in it, whatever, this is clearly a Johnny Depp vehicle. And when you add in Gore Verbinski as director and Jerry Bruckheimer behind the scenes producing, it's Pirates of the Caribbean in the West. That's what this movie looks like to me. And, you know, there have been some really great recent Westerns. I think of movies like the 3:10 to Yuma reboot, Open Range, some other good Westerns. And then in the last 20 years, Hollywood's made some really bad ones, like The Wild Wild West, Maverick, and
I like Maverick.
Okay. And
don't besmirch Maverick on my show.
Well, how about Cowboys and Aliens?
Okay, that one sucks.
Okay, good. We agree. And this movie feels like one of those movies. Even if you like Maverick, there's an artificiality to it as opposed to
I would agree with that.
A Western.
Yes.
And I think this film definitely has this sort of artificiality around it, a very Hollywood-ish feel, very campy. And, if you're going to do the West, do a Western. This movie just looks bad. And I agree with you. I think I'd really like it to be good. But with all of the action scenes in the trailers that are really over the top, it just looks like it's going to be clunky. Now, will it make money? It comes out 4th of July weekend and it's pretty much unopposed. It's going to make money, but I don't think it's going to do well in terms of word of mouth, second showings, and I think a lot of people are going to end up being disappointed. But, Pirates of the Caribbean 3, certainly the worst of those three films, and it's one of the top money makers worldwide. So Johnny Depp equals money. Yeah. We may see several Lone Ranger films in the future, unfortunately, or Tonto films, because Johnny Depp equals box office success.
And finally, the last movie that we are going to discuss is Pacific Rim.
Something out there had discovered us.
Guillermo del Toro, A+ director, one of my favorites, just can do no wrong. Nothing he's ever made has been bad in my eyes. Hellboy, Hellboy 2, Pan's Labyrinth, all phenomenal films. Would have loved to see him actually have directed The Hobbit. Giant robots fighting giant monsters is never a bad thing in my opinion. Idris Elba, amazing. Just the one quote they have from him in this movie.
Today, at the edge of our hope, at the end of our time, we have chosen to believe in each other. Today we face the monsters that are at our door. Today we are canceling the apocalypse.
So in my opinion, with all those things combined, this is going to just make for an awesome action movie.
I'm a big fan of Idris Elba. I love Charlie Hunnam. I'm a big Sons of Anarchy fan. I've been waiting for him to break out into film. And I love Guillermo del Toro. In fact, this week in the class that I'm working as a faculty associate at Arizona State and teaching, we're actually covering Pan's Labyrinth this week. So I love del Toro, all those films you named. And when I saw the trailer for this film, I thought, what have you done? This is Godzilla meets Transformers.
Okay, where's things getting bad here? That sounds awesome.
No, the Transformer films were all terrible. Every one of them. The first one, the next one, and the next one that they make, they'll all be bad. And the Godzilla reboots, the giant monster films, there's so much digitally done that this film just looks awful. Now, let me qualify that because we're definitely on different sides here. I think Pacific Rim could be the worst film of the summer.
Wow.
I think it is this year's Battleship.
Wow.
I think it's going to be really awful.
To read Tim's reviews, go to dayatthemovies.com. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we check out a story from the show's past that you won't want to miss. Plus, we have Veda Moon in our South Plains sessions.
The Lubbock Cultural District Calendar is brought to you by the Lubbock Arts Alliance. The Lubbock Arts Alliance presents the 35th Annual Lubbock Arts Festival, Friday, April 12th through Sunday, April 14th from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. at the Lubbock Memorial Civic Center. More information about the festival and surrounding activities is available at lubbockartsfestival.ndmade.com. The Texas Tech Presidential Lecture and Performance Series presents Judy Collins, Friday, April 12th at 7 p.m. at the Texas Tech Allen Theater. More information is available at 770-2000 or at selectaseatlubbock.com. The Cactus Theater presents Marcia Ball, Saturday, April 13th at 7:30 p.m. Ticket information is available at 747-7047 or at cactustheater.com. The Texas Tech Department of Theater and Dance presents Raider Red's Awesome Dance Spectacular, Friday, April 12th and Saturday, April 13th at 8 p.m. and Sunday, April 14th at 2 p.m. at the Machen Laboratory Theater. More information is available at 806-742-3603.
For the production of 24 frames, we put together a lot of stories. Then we break them all down and decide which story is right for which show. This next story was one we were really happy with, but just couldn't find the right place for it. So today, we offer you a story from our vaults, a profile of the science spectrum. Hey guys, I'm here at the Science Spectrum in Lubbock to take a behind-the-scenes tour of the Omni Theater and see why it's such a unique movie-going experience. Theater manager Keith Porterfield is waiting to give me a behind-the-scenes tour of the projection room and the theater. Let's go find him. Hey Keith, nice to see you.
It's good to see you.
So tell me a little bit about the Omni Theater here at the Science Spectrum in Lubbock.
Well, the Omni Theater is Lubbock's only large format film theater. A lot of theaters now are going digital. We still actually run film.
Which I love. We're film nerds. We like that old classic, the clicks and all of that. So
Absolutely.
That's great.
I do too. And so what we run is a film format called 1570.
Okay.
It is different from the average 35 millimeter film in that the perforations on the film, which we can have a look at here in a second, are instead of being vertical, are turned over horizontal, and allows you to have a bigger film frame that way. So each film frame on our system contains about 10 times as much photographic information as a regular 35 millimeter film frame.
Now I'm anxious to get behind the scenes and take a look at some of the gadgetry. Can we go do that?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go check it out.
Okay.
All right, Keith, now we're standing in the theater, the auditorium, and man, this thing is impressive. It's giant. How big is this screen?
The dome is about 65 feet across and about 58 feet from the ground up to the apex.
And I noticed it's not like a normal film screen. It's kind of got a metal grate look to it. What is that exactly?
They are aluminum panels, actually, that are riveted together. Each one has got a bunch of tiny little holes in it, which actually helps for the sound to come through into the theater. The speaker system is located behind the dome, and so the sound comes through the dome into the theater. And then the dome itself is then actually covered with a special paint that makes it really reflective to light. And that's how we get our nice picture off it.
So at home I sit and think, oh wow, I have this great surround sound system. This is truly surrounding the audience.
It is, exactly, yes.
That's great. Now how many people can fit in here?
Our seating capacity is 182.
182, that's great. Now, okay, I'm a little more excited to go and take a look at that film. Can we go back to the projection room and check it out?
Yeah, let's head on in.
All right, let's do it. All right, so now we're in the projection booth where the magic happens. Okay, so what do you have here? Tell me what's going on right here.
Well, like we talked about a moment ago, our film frame is much bigger than the average movie frame. So what you're looking at here, this right here, is 1 second worth of film in a 35 millimeter.
Which is 24
projector.
frames.
24 frames, exactly.
Yes.
And then this is 1 second of our film.
Wow.
And so you can see substantially larger.
So it's still 24 frames,
It is,
but
yes.
it's just that you have this much more picture to show.
Exactly, yeah. And so when the projector is turning, pulling the film through, like I said, that's about 6 feet or 1 frame. So once the projector gets rolling, it's really spinning fast. It's pulling about 6 feet per second through the head of the projector.
Wow, and that's what gives it that more immersive experience and gives it that, you know, that whole bending around
absolutely.
the audience, that surround look that we were talking about earlier.
Yes, exactly.
Now, is this that's the film puller right here? Is that what pulls the film into the...
It is. This is what we call the reel unit, and its job is to send film to the projector and then take it back when the projector's done showing it on the screen.
So does it come out here and come back here, or how does it exactly work?
Well, the way it's set up, at any time, any of the 3 decks can either take up or pay out film.
Okay.
The way we tell it that we want it to pay the film out is we have this device up on the top, which is called the feed unit or the brain, because it does the thinking for the reel unit. When that's plugged in, then it knows that this deck is going to be a payout deck, and every other deck can be used then as a take-up deck.
All right, now, for all this film, you got to have a big light.
Yes.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Can we take a look at that light bulb?
Yeah. Let's
all right,
step
let's
over
do
and
it.
look.
Now, you said 1. Is there multiple of these?
No, the projector only takes, one at a time.
Okay.
But they do have to come out about every 4 months or so. We usually run through about 3 bulbs per year.
That's great. So now, is there a Omnimax home base company that where you get all your supplies for?
Not really. The lamps come from, there are a couple of companies that make them.
Okay.
This is from a company called Ushio, and they do all kinds of specialty light bulbs, including these. Parts and those sorts of things, we have a service contract with the company that made the projector, and so they provide us with parts when we need things, if something were to break down or whatever. So yeah, it's not like a one centralized place where we get all of our supplies, but it is enough of a niche kind of market that there really are only a few suppliers for each individual piece that we would need.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for giving us the tour today. Geoff Marslett is a filmmaker who puts story first in all of his work. His first feature film, a semi-animated love story that takes place on Mars, called Mars, is a quirky sci-fi adventure. You can check it out on Netflix right now. His newest film debuted at South by Southwest and is called Loves Her Gun. We recently caught up with Geoff in Austin to talk about his film and much more. Do you feel like making films in Austin is is it more liberating than you think than trying to go in LA or New York?
It is, except for the fundraising side of it. As I think any filmmaker working outside of LA and New York, maybe just outside of LA, because I think even New York can be tough. But certainly when you're somewhere like Texas, they're just, this is a wonderfully supportive filmmaking community. I would call us, we are extremely rich on creative people, extremely rich on people who are generous with their time and their creative talents. People want to see you succeed. You know, in some places you'll find other filmmakers kind of want to see you not do as well so they can shine. I'd honestly say my interactions with other filmmakers and other creative types in Austin is everyone wants to see everyone else do well. And there are world-class writers and painters and musicians all in this community that you can work with. And that's really wonderful. But what we really don't have is we're super cash poor. That there just isn't, if you even look at the big guys, the big guys in Austin filmmaking, they're going out to LA and New York to really find the money and come back here and work, which is admirable and wonderful, they're doing it. But I wish that if I could change one thing about the Austin film scene that would make it more liberating is I wish there were more people that were based in Austin trying to finance films. Even if they're financing on the lower budget, I wish there were some places where someone was saying, I'm going to try and finance 5 or 6 films so that I might make a profit back on one of them and create that mini studio effect with that idea where they're leveraging work, and that some of us with a good project might be able to go to someone that has that instead of saying, I'm going to get some from crowdsourcing, I'm going to go apply for these 3 grants, and then I'm going to put this on my credit card. And because it's stressful to just figure out where each piece of your very low budget puzzle comes together.
Do things like Kickstarter, have they really transformed how filmmakers can get funding? I mean, even though it's tough and you're doing lower budget stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll still remain to be seen if we're all just giving money to each other's Kickstarters and it's almost like we all just funded our film ourselves. But it has given us somewhere to go to and say, I'm going to throw this to a wider audience and see if some people are interested in helping me. And I would honestly say, when I think about my filmmaking friends and colleagues in the city, that almost all of our recent projects have had some element of a Kickstarter. It may not be Kickstarter, it might be US artists like I used, or it might be Indiegogo, but one of these crowdsourced funding.
You just recently debuted your newest feature film, Loves Her Gun. Tell me a little bit about that film.
But it's a live action film, so it's very different from Mars. It's live action, shot on real locations, shot here in Austin, shot in Brooklyn, and then shot on the road in between, with stops in Mississippi and Chattanooga and maybe somewhere else I'm now forgetting.
So is it a road film?
It has a road film element towards the beginning, but most of it takes place, 3/4 of it is here in Texas. And it's really a drama. I like to describe it as a romantic tragedy, because I think that's the best description of what the drama is going on. But it's about a woman who gets attacked on the streets of New York and ends up, to get away from that, moving to Austin, to Texas, and kind of falls in with Texas gun culture and has some of her similar problems follow her. And it's very different. You know, Mars is very, I think, lighthearted, romantic, uplifting, sometimes social commentary on what we're doing with sciences and such, but you know, it's very much that. And this one is, I think, still, I've snuck in a little bit of that social commentary on kind of where the state of debate over gun control and things are, but also it's a darker look at romance. And
as far as the production goes, Mars was the last feature you did. Now this is your new one. Very, very different production, I'm sure. What were some of those differences, and what challenges did you face?
I mean, it's funny. The first challenge I faced in doing this one is, to be honest, doing a live action film is much, much easier. So the first challenge was, wow, this isn't as hard. I mean, I say it sarcastically, it's still hard, but it really, if I had to do my pie graph or something, I'd say making an animated feature is 10 times as hard as a live action. And sometimes when you go out there on the film circuit, it's a little rough because there's a certain amount of people that just aren't that interested in animation, and they like it maybe in short form, but they look at the two and they're like, oh, maybe one day you'll graduate to making a real film, and they point out something that was just shot on DV and some people put together in 6 months, that, not to diminish what they did, but you're like, this is like a 3-year process of drawing all the frames, of doing what they did, plus doing all this stuff. So it's actually really freeing to be able to skip a lot of the stages from the animating side of it. On the other hand, I've had to give up this sort of micromanaging world that in the animation, every frame, when I did something like Mars, everything that happens is exactly what I wanted to happen and how I want it to happen. And you have to give up that total control when you do a live action piece like this, especially one on the road, on low budget, on location, and say, you know what, these actors are going to give me something, and I'm also going to work with what they give me and make that into my vision. So it's give and take, but I really liked it because it is so different. Mars was all in a studio. Mars was all very, you have to stick to the script, to these words. This is very much ad-lib your dialogue if you want. This is go wherever we want to go. So you're not always showing up at the same workspace and being in an air-conditioned, whatever. Actually, the studio wasn't air-conditioned when we did it, but the conveniences of the studio are gone, but you get a whole different set of things. So I really like that they're two totally different beasts. It's been exciting for me, and I get to keep learning as a filmmaker.
After the break, Veda Moon is in our South Plains sessions. Stay tuned.
Were arrested at 14 and 15 years of age.
You can only imagine the pressure to have this crime solved and solved quickly.
First we was all together, then they started to put us in different rooms.
What did you do? Who were you with? Who did you come with?
If they confessed, and that was that.
A lot of people didn't do their jobs.
We falsely convicted them, and we walked away from our crime.
I'm here tonight with Veda Moon. They're about to play some songs for us in their living room. And you guys just recently put a song up online, correct?
Yeah, we just recorded a little demo of a song that's hopefully eventually going to make it on an EP. We plan on releasing it during the summer. We put it up on SoundCloud, and I think you should be able to find that on our Facebook as well.
And then you guys have a show coming up in May.
Yes.
I believe May 27th with Linear Down Full. It'll be at the O-Bar in the Depot District. And there'll be a bunch of other locals playing as well, so check that out.
Anything specific you guys like about being a part of the Lubbock music scene?
The diversity of sound, definitely. You can go to a show every other weekend and you'll hear a band that sounds nothing like you've heard like before in Lubbock.
All three of you guys are pretty big parts of everything that's going on with Middle Child right now, correct?
Yes.
Or at least...
Yeah.
These two, yeah.
This guy too.
How's it been being a big facet in that organization and juggling being in a band at the same time?
I slowly became part of Middle Child to, help other people in Lubbock. Like, there's a lot of talented artists in Lubbock that people just don't pay attention to, and that's kind of why I'm there. I enjoy helping other people get their music out there for other people to hear, because a lot of people are underrepresented.
It's kind of just like a big support network. The cool thing about having such a close-knit scene is that everyone is willing to come out to shows because we all know each other, we're all behind each other, regardless of genre. That's just nonsense to us. It's just, if it's good music, we're going to come out and support you.
All right, well, here's Veda Moon.
Oh, my darling.
That's the show. Thanks for joining me this week on 24 Frames. For more stories from the show, go to kttz.org, and remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. We'll see you next time.
By chunks of me, you're a shark and I'm swimming. My heart still thumps as I bleed, and all your friends come sniffing. Triangles are my favorite shape. 3 points, but 2